Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Presidents and Heroes of the Philippines Poetic Tour. Jose Rizal. Jose Rizal dedicated his life to helping Filipinos to believe in themselves. He was a Filipino nationalist, writer, and polymath near the end of the Spanish colonial era. He is the national hero of the Philippines. Jose Rizal was an eye doctor who became a writer and a key member of the propaganda movement, which advocated for political reforms in the Spanish colony of the Philippines. The Philippine Revolution for Independence was inspired by his writing, and the Spanish executed Jose Rizal for the crime of rebellion. His two novels, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, inspired self-respect in Filipinos. Jose Rizal was born in 1861 in Calamba, Laguna, Philippines. He had 9 sisters and 1 brother. Rizal's 2 famous novels, The Noli and the Fili, were critical of the Spanish priests and the power of the Roman Catholic Church. Rizal's Austrian friend Ferdinand Blumentritt wrote that the novel's characters were drawn from real life, and that every episode could be repeated on any day in the Philippines. Declared an enemy of the state in 1892, Rizal was deported to Dapitan, Zamboanga, Mindanao, Philippines. Jose Rizal was executed by the Spanish on December 30th, 1896, at the Bagong Bayan, now known as Rizal Park or Luneta Park in Manila. He wrote Mi Ultimo Adios, a poem shortly before his death. Farewell, my adored land, region of the sun caressed, pearl of the Orient Sea, our Eden lost. With gladness I give you my life, sad and repressed. Major characters in the Noli included Crisostomo Ibarra, Maria Clara, Capitan Tiago, Padre Damaso, Elias, and Pilasopong Tasio, as well as Doña Victorina, Sisa, Crispin, and Basilio. Andres Bonifacio. Andres Bonifacio was a Filipino Freemason and revolutionary leader. He is often called the father of the Philippine Revolution and considered one of the national heroes of the Philippines. He was a founder of the Katipunan, a movement which sought independence for the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule. When the War for Independence came, the Philippine Revolution, Bonifacio became the president of the Philippine Revolutionary Government. Andres Bonifacio was born in 1863 in Tondo, Manila. He enjoyed reading about the French Revolution, biographies of American presidents, Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, and Jose Rizal's Noli and Fili. Within the Katipunan, Bonifacio's best friend was Emilio Jacinto. On August 30th, 1896, Bonifacio led an attack on San Juan del Monte, the start of the Philippine War of Independence against Spain. In November 1896, Bonifacio commissioned Julio Nakpil to compose a national anthem, a hymn called Marangal na Dalit ng Katagulagan, honorable hymn of the Tagalog nation. In 1897, a power struggle in Cavite led to command of the revolution shifting to Emilio Aguinaldo at the Tejeros Convention, where a new government was formed. Bonifacio was executed after he refused to recognize the new government on May 10, 1897. The Andres Bonifacio Monument in Caloocan pays respect to Bonifacio as a national hero who was great. Andres Bonifacio's life is certainly one to celebrate. Emilio Aguinaldo. Emilio Aguinaldo was a revolutionary military leader and the first and youngest president of the Philippines, serving from 1899 to 1901. He was the first president of a constitutional republic in Asia. He led the Philippines in the War of Independence against Spain and later the United States. Emilio Aguinaldo was born in 1869 in Kawit, Cavite, the 7th of 8 children. In 1895, he joined the Katipunan, taking the nom de guerre Magdalo in honor of Mary Magdalene. Emilio Aguinaldo and the Cavite rebels won major military victories against the Spanish and drove them out of Cavite. On March 22, 1897, at a convention in Tejeros, Cavite, Aguinaldo was elected president of the Katipunan. Andres Bonifacio did not accept the loss of power. On December 15, 1897, Aguinaldo signed the Treaty of Biak-na-Bato with the Spanish and went into exile in Hong Kong. On April 25, 1898, the Spanish-American War began. On May 1st, in the Battle of Manila Bay, the U.S. Navy defeated the Spanish Navy. Several days later, U.S. Navy Commodore George Dewey transported Aguinaldo from Hong Kong to the Philippines. Aguinaldo arrived in Cavite on May 19th and resumed command of the Philippine Revolution against Spain. On June 12th, Aguinaldo promulgated the Philippine Declaration of Independence from Spain. In August, the Spanish surrendered. However, war between the U.S. and the Philippines started in February 1899. In March 1901, Aguinaldo was captured and the Philippines became an American colony. During the American period, Aguinaldo worked to help veterans of the War for Independence. In 1935, Aguinaldo ran for president of the Philippines, but was defeated by Manuel Quezon. Emilio Aguinaldo died in 1962 at age 94. What an inspiring life. The Philippines and the Filipino people, Emilio Aguinaldo really did adore. Macario Sakay. Macario Sakay was a Filipino general who took part in the War of Independence against Spain and the United States. After the war ended in 1902, Sakay continued resistance by leading guerrilla raids. In 1903, Sakay established the Tagalog Republic with himself as president. Macario Sakay was born in 1878 in Tondo, Manila. He first worked as an apprentice in a carriage manufacturing shop. He was also a tailor and a stage actor, performing in a number of plays. An original member of the Katipunan, which he joined in 1891, he fought alongside Andres Bonifacio against Spain throughout the Philippine Revolution. In 1899, he continued the war for independence against the United States. Early in the war against the U.S., he was jailed but later released as part of an amnesty. Macario Sakay was one of the founders of the Partido Nacionalista, which sought to achieve Philippine independence through legal means. The U.S. established the sedition law, which prohibited any form of propaganda advocating independence. Sakay took up arms again. Around 1902, Sakay established the Tagalog Republic somewhere in the mountains of Rizal and declared himself president. In 1905, the U.S. established a Philippine National Assembly, a step towards independence. Sakay decided to surrender, was granted amnesty, but was arrested in 1907, charged and convicted of banditry, and executed. Before his death, Sakay made a statement. "Death comes to all of us sooner or later, so I will face the Lord Almighty calmly. But I want to tell you that we are not bandits and robbers, as the Americans have accused us, but members of the revolutionary force that defended our country, the Philippines. Long live the Republic, and may our independence be born in the future. Long live the Philippines." In 1908, a statue of Sakay was unveiled at Plaza Morga in Tondo, Manila. Philippine Army Camp Eldridge was renamed Camp General Macario Sakay in 2016. What a tremendous hero for the island's Philippines. Manuel Quezon. Manuel Luis Quezon, also known by his initials MLQ, was a Filipino statesman, soldier, and politician who served as President of the Philippines from 1935 until his death in 1944. He was the first Filipino to head a government of the entire Philippines. He is considered to have been the second president of the Philippines after Emilio Aguinaldo, whom Quezon defeated in the 1935 presidential election. During his presidency, Quezon tackled the problem of landless peasants in the countryside. He established a government in exile in the U.S. with the outbreak of World War II. Quezon died of tuberculosis at Saranac Lake, New York, USA during his exile. He was buried at Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. until the end of World War II, when his remains were moved to Manila. His final resting place is the Quezon Memorial Circle. Manuel Quezon was born in 1878 in Bel Air, Aurora. Philippines. His parents were elementary school teachers, and his father spoke and taught Spanish. Quezon studied at the Colegio de San Juan de Letran. In 1899, he left his law studies at the University of Santo Tomas to join the independence movement. During the Philippine-American War, he was an aide-de-camp for Emilio Aguinaldo. He was elected mayor of Tayabas in 1906. In 1907, he was elected to the House of Representatives and became majority floor leader. In 1916, he was elected Philippine senator and became Senate president, serving until 1935, when he was elected Philippine president. After the Japanese invasion of the Philippines in 1941, President Quezon evacuated to Corregidor Island, then later to Australia and the United States. His grandson, Manolo Quezon, is a prominent writer. Manuel Quezon appears on the 20 Philippine peso note. What an inspiring life, that of Manuel Quezon. Surely from his life we can learn a profound lesson. Jose Abad Santos. Jose Abad Santos was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Philippines and briefly served as acting president of the country and commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines during World War II on behalf of President Quezon after the government went into exile in the United States. After about 2 months, he was executed by Japanese forces for refusing to cooperate during their occupation of the country. Together with Josefa Yanes Escoda and Vicente Lim, he is memorialized on the Philippines 1,000 peso banknote, depicting Filipinos who fought and died resisting the Japanese occupation of the Philippines during World War II. Jose Abad Santos was born in 1896 in San Fernando, Pampanga. He went to college in the United States at Santa Clara College, Northwestern University, and George Washington University. He became a lawyer in 1911. He joined the Philippine Supreme Court in 1932 and became Chief Justice in 1941. On April 11, 1942, Abad Santos was captured by the Japanese in Cebu. On April 30th, he was informed about the order of his execution. His last words to his son were, "Do not cry, Pepito. Show to these people that you are brave. It is an honor to die for one's country. Not everybody has that chance." What an inspiring life was that of Jose Abad Santos, even if one takes only a short glance. Jose P. Laurel. Jose P. Laurel served as Philippine president during the Japanese occupation during World War II, from 1943 to 1945. Since the administration of President Diosdado Macapagal, 1961 to 1965, Laurel has been officially recognized by later administrations as a former president of the Philippines. Jose P. Laurel was born in 1891 in Tanauan, Batangas. His father, Sotero Laurel, was an official in the revolutionary government of Emilio Aguinaldo, and a signer of the 1899 Malolos Constitution. Like many other presidents, he is of Chinese mestizo descent. In 1915, he received his law degree from the University of the Philippines, College of Law. In 1925, Laurel was elected to the Philippine Senate. He was appointed to the Philippine Supreme Court in 1936. Under the Imperial Japanese forces, he became president in 1943. During his tenure as president, hunger was the main worry. After the Japanese surrendered and the Second World War ended, President Laurel was arrested by the United States in Japan. He received an amnesty from President Manuel Rojas in 1948. In 1951, Laurel was elected to the Philippine Senate. During his retirement, he worked on the development of the Lyceum of the Philippines, which his family established. In 1959, he received the Philippine Legion of Honor from President Carlos P. Garcia. Jose P. Laurel and his wife, Pacencia, had 9 children, including Pepito, a congressman, Toroy and Doy, both senators, and Arsenio Dodgy Laurel, who won the Macau Grand Prix in 1962 and 1963. His great-grandsons, Jay, Matt, Carlos, and Danny Laurel, were top baseball players. They excelled to a great degree. What an amazing man was Jose P. Laurel. On that we can all agree. Sergio Osmeña. Sergio Osmeña was president of the Philippines from 1944 to 1946. He was vice president under President Manuel Quezon. When President Quezon died in 1944, Sergio Osmeña became president. He was the first Visayan to become president of the Philippines. Osmeña was governor of Cebu, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and senator. Sergio Osmeña was born in 1878 in Cebu. He studied at San Juan de Letran College and law at the University of Santo Tomas. Osmeña served on the war staff of General Emilio Aguinaldo as a courier and journalist. In the House of Representatives, Osmeña became friends with Manuel Quezon. Osmeña became Philippine president in 1944, sworn in Washington, D.C., USA. In the 1946 election, Osmeña was defeated by Manuel Rojas. Osmeña was with U.S. General Douglas MacArthur in October 1944 during the landing at Leyte Island, starting the liberation of the Philippines from Japanese occupation. By February 1945, Osmeña was in Malacañang Palace in Manila. Sergio Osmeña retired to his home in Cebu and died at age 83 in 1961. He was patriarch of the prominent Osmeña family. His descendants include senators, congressmen, and mayors in Cebu. What a life that lived by Sergio Osmeña. He really showed what he could do. Manuel Rojas. Manuel Rojas served as Philippine president from 1946 until his death due to heart attacks in 1948. He became the first president of the independent Philippines when independence from the United States came in 1946. Manuel Rojas was born in 1892 in Capiz, present-day Rojas City. His father died before his birth, mortally wounded by the Spanish Guardia Civil. Rojas became governor of Capiz in 1919. He was elected to the Philippine House of Representatives in 1922. During World War II, Rojas was captured by the Japanese in 1942 and became chief advisor to President Jose P. Laurel. In April 1945, he surrendered to American forces in Baguio. In the 1946 presidential election, Rojas defeated Sergio Osmeña. He was inaugurated on May 28th and the Philippines became independent of the United States on July 4th. President Rojas worked to improve the Philippine economy, which had been devastated by the war. He faced the challenge of civil war posed by the Huck rebels. On April 15, 1948, he suffered multiple heart attacks and died at age 56. His presidential term was the shortest, only 1 year, 10 months, and 18 days. Named after him, Rojas Boulevard is a popular waterfront promenade in Metro Manila. It runs along the shores of Manila Bay, well known for its sunsets and stretch of coconut trees. Next time we're on Rojas Boulevard, let's remember Manuel Rojas and enjoy from Manila Bay a nice breeze. Elpidio Carino. Elpidio Carino was a Filipino lawyer and politician who served as the 6th president of the Philippines from 1948 to 1953. A lawyer by profession, Carino entered politics when he became a representative from Ilocos Sur from 1919 to 1925. Carino was born in 1890 in Vigan, Ilocos Sur. He was elected to the Philippine Senate in 1925. Elpidio Carino was elected vice president in 1946 and became president in 1948 when President Manuel Rojas died. During his 5 years as president, there was post-war reconstruction, economic growth, and economic aid from the United States. He faced the Huck Balahap Rebellion of farmers in central Luzon. In 1949, he was elected to a full term in his own right. In 1953, he ran for re-election but was defeated by Ramon Magsaysay. In 1956, he suffered a massive heart attack and died. There is a Carino grandstand in Manila's Rizal Park. On February 9, 1945, his wife Alicia and 3 of their children, Armando, Norma, and Faye Angela, were killed by the Japanese troops as they fled from their home in the Battle of Manila. In an act of forgiveness and attempting to improve public relations with Japan, President Carino granted amnesty to all Japanese war criminals in 1953. In 2016, a memorial to him was established in Hibiya Park in Tokyo, Japan. What an inspiration was Elpidio Carino. We can have peace on earth through love and forgiveness. Yes, we can. Ramon Magsaysay. Ramon Magsaysay was the 7th president of the Philippines, serving from 1953 until his death in an aircraft disaster in 1957. An automobile mechanic by profession, Magsaysay was an outstanding guerrilla leader during the Second World War and became a military governor of Zambales. He was born in 1907 in Iba, Zambales. As a guerrilla leader, he commanded 10,000 Filipino soldiers. In 1946, he was elected to the Philippine House of Representatives. In 1950, he became Secretary of Defense, fighting the Hukbalahap communist guerrillas. In 1953, he was elected Philippine President. President Magsaysay became the first Philippine president to be inaugurated wearing a barong Tagalog. During his term, he made Malacañang Palace literally a house of the people, opening its gates to the public. Magsaysay promoted land reform, giving 80,000 acres of land to 4,000 landless families. In 1957, President Magsaysay died in an airplane crash in Cebu. 2 million people attended his state funeral. He was called champion of the masses and defender of democracy. His administration is considered the most corrupt-free in Philippine history. Trade and industry flourished. The Philippines gained international recognition in sports, culture, and foreign affairs. He was sympathetic to the Huk rebels, believing that they were not communists, that they were simple peasants who thought that rebellion was the only answer to their suffering. His administration is often called the Philippine Golden Years. Wow! Ramon Magsaysay was really amazing. For him, let us shout, 3 cheers! Carlos P. Garcia. Carlos P. Garcia was a Filipino teacher, poet, orator, lawyer, public official, political economist, guerrilla and military leader, and 8th President of the Philippines. Carlos P. Garcia was born in Talibon, Bohol in 1896. He became a lawyer and famous for his poetry in Bohol, earning the nickname Prince of Visayan Poets and the Bard from Bohol. Carlos P. Garcia was in the Philippines House of Representatives and Senate and was elected governor of Bohol. During World War II, he refused to cooperate with the Japanese and took part in the guerrilla movement. He was Ramon Magsaysay's running mate in the 1953 presidential election. When President Magsaysay died in 1957, Vice President Carlos P. Garcia became president. He was elected to a full term himself later that year. President Garcia started a Filipino-first policy which favored Filipino businessmen over foreign investors. He also initiated an austerity program. In 1960, President Garcia established the International Race Research Institute. Carlos P. Garcia worked to revive Filipino culture, creating the Republic Cultural Award for Filipino artists, scientists, historians, and writers. In the 1961 presidential election, he was defeated by Diosdado Macapagal. He died of a heart attack in 1971. Carlos P. Garcia was the first president to be buried at the Libingan ng Mga Bayani, Cemetery of Heroes. He received honors from Malaysia, South Vietnam, and Spain. What an amazing life Carlos P. Garcia did attain. Diosdado Macapagal. Diosdado Macapagal was a lawyer and politician and served as the 9th president of the Philippines from 1961 to 1965. He was born in 1910 in Lubao, Pampanga, the third of 5 children in a poor family. His father was a poet who wrote in the local Pampangan language. Diosdado Macapagal became a lawyer and legal assistant to President Manuel Quezon in Malacañang Palace. In 1946, he was appointed by President Manuel Rojas as head of the legal division in the Department of Foreign Affairs. Macapagal's first wife, Purita, died in 1943. In 1946, he married Evangelina Macareg, with whom he had 2 children, including Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who also became president. In 1949, he was elected to the House of Representatives. In 1957, he was elected vice president, and in 1961, he was elected president. In 1962, he changed the Philippine Independence Day from July 4th, 1946 to June 12th, 1898. In the 1965 presidential election, Ferdinand Marcos defeated Macapagal. In retirement, he devoted much of his time to reading and writing and wrote a weekly column for the Manila Bulletin newspaper. As president, he worked to fight corruption and stimulate the economy. He introduced the first land reform law. Diosdado Macapagal is a distant descendant of Don Juan Macapagal, a prince of Tondo, who was a great-grandson of the last reigning Lacan, or paramount ruler of Tondo, Lacandula, when the Spanish conquered the Manila area in the 1570s. Diosdado Macapagal appears on the Philippine 200 peso note. Wow, what an amazing man was President Diosdado Macapagal. He has my vote. Ferdinand Marcos. Ferdinand Marcos was the 10th president of the Philippines, elected in 1965 and re-elected in 1961. He became dictator in 1972 and ruled until being ousted in 1986 by the People Power Revolution. Ferdinand Marcos was born in 1917 in Sarat, Ilocos Norte. He married Imelda Romualdez in 1954, only 11 days after they first met. He claimed to be a descendant of Antonio Luna, a Filipino general during the Philippine-American War. Ferdinand Marcos studied law at the University of the Philippines in Manila. He was elected to the House of Representatives in 1949. In 1959, he was elected to the Philippine Senate. In 1965, he was elected President of the Philippines. The construction of the Cultural Center of the Philippines was a major project. President Marcos sent 10,000 Filipino soldiers to serve in the U.S. war in Vietnam. In 1969, he was re-elected, defeating Sergio Osmeña Jr. In 1970, Ferdinand Marcos faced demonstrations, protests, and marches called the First Quarter Storm. On September 23, 1972, he declared martial law and became dictator. In 1983, opposition leader Benigno Aquino Jr. was assassinated on the tarmac of Manila International Airport. On February 25, 1986, Marcos and his family fled the Philippines, being pressured by the People Power Revolution. They then lived in Hawaii. Ferdinand Marcos died in 1989 of kidney, heart, and lung ailments at age 72. From 1993 to 2016, his remains were interred inside a refrigerated crypt in Ilocos Norte, Philippines. In 2016, he was buried in the Libingan ng Mga Bayani in Manila. It is believed that Ferdinand Marcos stole $10 billion while in power. His dictatorship is remembered for human rights abuses, including 3,000 extrajudicial killings and 70,000 political arrests. Today, he still has his supporters, and his son, Bongbong Marcos, is the current Philippine president. Well, we live in a confusing world. We know there is good and evil, but identifying heroes and villains is not clear. Things are not always as they appear. Singapore Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew wrote, "The Philippines is a soft, forgiving culture. Only in the Philippines could a leader like Ferdinand Marcos, who pillaged the country for over 20 years, still be considered for a national burial. Insignificant amounts of loot have been recovered, yet his wife and children were allowed to return and engage in politics." Ninoy Aquino. Ninoy Aquino was a senator and governor of the province of Tarlac. His wife Cory and son Noynoy both became president of the Philippines. Ninoy Aquino was an opponent of Ferdinand Marcos. He was arrested as a political prisoner in 1972 and was imprisoned for 7 years. In 1980, he was allowed to travel to the U.S. for medical treatment and stayed in the U.S. In 1983, he returned to the Philippines and was assassinated at Manila International Airport. His death inspired the People Power Revolution, which helped end the Marcos dictatorship, restored democracy, and helped his widow, Cory Aquino, to become president. Benigno Ninoy Aquino was born in 1932 in Concepcion, Tarlac. His family was that of prosperous landowners. His grandfather, Serviliano Aquino, was a general in the Revolutionary Army of Emilio Aguinaldo. Ninoy became a war correspondent in the Korean War for the Manila Times. He was appointed by President Ramon Magsaysay to negotiate with Louis Taruk, leader of the Hukbalhap rebel group, and was able to achieve Turuk's surrender. In 1968, Ninoy Aquino was elected to the Philippine Senate. He became a critic of President Marcos. As a political prisoner, he was kept at Fort Bonifacio. In exile in the U.S. with his family, he lived in Boston, Massachusetts. When Ninoy Aquino returned to the Philippines, he said, "The Filipino is worth dying for." The Manila International Airport was renamed Ninoy Aquino International Airport. His image appears on the 500 Philippine peso note. During his 7 years in prison, Ninoy Aquino developed spiritually and became a contemporary counterpart of Jose Rizal. What an amazing life Ninoy Aquino lived. For the service of his country, he answered the call. Corazon Aquino. Corazon or Cory Aquino was the 11th president of the Philippines and served from 1986 to 1992. She was born in 1933 in Paniki, Tarlac. Her father, Jose Cojuangco, was a prominent Tarlac businessman and former congressman, and her mother was Demetria Sumulong. Cory Aquino's family moved to the U.S. when she was in high school, and she graduated from Notre Dame Convent School in New York City in 1949. She returned to the Philippines after college. Cory Cojuangco married Ninoy Aquino in 1954, and the couple raised 5 children: Ballsy, Pinky, Noy, VL, and Chris. Ninoy became an important politician, and Cory was a housewife. From 1972 to 1980, Ninoy was a political prisoner. In exile in the U.S. from 1980 to 1983, Ninoy, Cory, and their 5 children enjoyed 3 years of happy family life in Boston, Massachusetts. After Ninoy's death, Cory became active in demonstrations against dictator Ferdinand Marcos. By February 25, 1986, the People Power Revolution had succeeded in ousting Ferdinand Marcos from power, and Cory Aquino became president. Democracy was restored in the Philippines. As president, Cory Aquino promoted economic growth, free market economics, and peace in Mindanao. She dealt with the 1990 Luzon earthquake, 1991 Mount Pinatubo volcanic eruption, Tropical Storm Thelma, and several military coup attempts against her government. Corazon Aquino died in 2008 at age 72. She became known as the Mother of Democracy. During her funeral procession, mourners sang the protest song Bayan Ko. For this noble woman and all she had been through, the tears certainly did flow. Fidel Ramos. Fidel Ramos, also known as FVR and Eddie Ramos, was a Filipino general and politician who served as the 12th president of the Philippines from 1992 to 1998. Fidel Ramos was born in 1928 in Lingayen, Pangasinan, and grew up in Asingan, Pangasinan. He graduated from high school at Centro Escolar University in 1945. For college, he went to the United States Military Academy in West Point, New York. Fidel Ramos married Amelita Martinez in 1954 at the Central United Methodist Church in Ermita. They raised 5 daughters: Angelita, Josephine, Carolina, Christina, and Gloria. Fidel Ramos joined the Philippine Army and served in the Korean and Vietnam Wars. He was head of the Philippine Constabulary, the country's national police, until 1972, when Ferdinand Marcos imposed martial law. In 1986, during the People Power Revolution, General Ramos defected from supporting Ferdinand Marcos and supported Corazon Aquino. His action, along with Juan Ponce Enrile, shifted military support from Marcos to Aquino. Ramos considered his role in the EDSA Revolution his atonement for his role in the implementation of martial law. During the Aquino presidency, Fidel Ramos served as Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. He helped crush 9 military coup attempts against the Aquino government. In the 1992 presidential election, Ramos defeated Miriam Defensor Santiago. As president, Ramos helped the Philippines achieve economic growth and political stability. Fidel Ramos died on July 31, 2022 at age 94. He is considered a hero for helping to restore democracy in the Philippines in 1986. Fidel Ramos was certainly effective in the challenging world of Philippine politics. Joseph Estrada. Joseph Estrada, also known as Erap, was a famous movie star who became the 13th president of the Philippines and served from 1998 to 2001. Joseph Estrada was born in 1937 in Tondo, Manila. His family later moved to San Juan. Joseph Estrada studied at Ateneo and the Mapua Institute of Technology. In his 20s, he became an actor, usually playing the role of the villain. He starred in over 100 movies over 30 years. He helped found the first Metro Manila Film Festival in 1975. In 1969, Joseph Estrada was elected mayor of San Juan. In 1987, he was elected to the Senate. In 1992, he was elected vice president of the Philippines. In 1998, he was elected president of the Philippines. In January 2001, President Estrada was ousted by the EDSA II revolution and replaced by Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. In April 2001, Joseph Estrada was arrested and charged with plunder. The EDSA III revolution attempted to restore Estrada to power but failed. In 2007, he was pardoned and released from prison. In 2010, Joseph Estrada ran for president again. He finished second behind Noynoy Aquino. In 2013, he was elected mayor of Manila. Joseph Estrada has been the butt of jokes based on his limited English language ability. In 1998, Estrada authorized a joke compilation book, Eraption: How to Speak English Without Really Trial. As mayor of San Juan, he established the first municipal high school, paved 98% of the town's roads and alleys, and relocated 1,800 squatter families out of San Juan to Taytay, Rizal. Wow! Joseph Estrada's contributions to the Philippines were certainly not small. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo served as the 14th president of the Philippines from 2001 until 2010. Gloria Macapagal was born in 1947 in San Juan, Rizal. She was raised mostly in Lubao, Pampanga. From 1961 to 1965, when she was ages 14 to 18, she lived in Malacañang Palace when her father, Diosdado Macapagal, was president of the Philippines. She studied college at Georgetown in the U.S., where she was a classmate of future U.S. President Bill Clinton. In 1968, she married businessman Mike Arroyo. The couple raised 3 children. In 1992, she was elected to the Senate. In 1998, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was elected vice president. In 2001, she became president when the EDSA II revolution ousted President Joseph Estrada. In 2004, she won the presidential election, defeating Ferdinand Poe Jr., and continued serving as Philippine president. In 2010, her 9-year presidency ended, and she was elected to the House of Representatives. In 2011, she was arrested for electoral sabotage. In 2016, her corruption charges were dismissed, and she was released from hospital arrest. In 2018, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was elected the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives. She is currently Senior Deputy Speaker at 75 years old. She speaks English, Tagalog, Spanish, French, Kapampangan, and Cebuano languages. As a politician, she supported the Anti-Sexual Harassment Law, Indigenous Peoples' Rights Law, and the Export Development Act. Growing up during summer vacations, she lived with her maternal grandmother in Iligan City, northern Mindanao. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo has her supporters and critics. Regarding her life, maybe the best we can say is, oh, wow. Noynoy Aquino. Noynoy Aquino served as the 15th president of the Philippines from 2010 to 2016. Noynoy Aquino was born in 1960 in Sampaloc, Manila. His parents were Ninoy Aquino and Corazon Cojuangco. He attended Ateneo de Manila University in Quezon City for his elementary, high school, and college education. From 1972 to 1980, when Noynoy was ages 12 to 20, his father Ninoy Aquino was in prison, a political prisoner of dictator Ferdinand Marcos. In 1980, his father and family went into exile in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. After graduating college in 1981, Noynoy joined his family in Boston. In 1983, his father, Ninoy, was murdered in Manila when Noynoy was 23 years old. Noynoy and his family returned to the Philippines. In 1986, when Noynoy was 26, his mother, Cory Aquino, became president of the Philippines. In 1998, Noynoy was elected to the House of Representatives. In 2007, he was elected to the Senate. In 2010, Noynoy was elected president of the Philippines. Noynoy Aquino never married and had no children. He loved billiards and video games. Noynoy Aquino did not drink, but he was a cigarette chain smoker. He died in 2021 of kidney trouble, hypertension, and diabetes. During his presidency, the Philippines experienced strong economic growth. In 1987, rebel soldiers led by Gregorio Honasan staged an unsuccessful military coup against his mother, President Cory Aquino. Noynoy Aquino came under fire and was hit by 5 bullets, once in the neck. His sister Kris Aquino is a popular TV personality and movie star. What an incredible life Noynoy Aquino had. In the race of life, he really traveled far. Rodrigo Duterte. Rodrigo Duterte was the 16th president of the Philippines, serving from 2016 to 2022. Duterte was born in 1945 in Masya, Southern Leyte. His family moved to Davao, Mindanao in 1950. He graduated from college at the Lyceum of the Philippines in Manila in 1968. In 1988, Rodrigo Duterte became mayor of Davao. He served for 22 years as Davao mayor. During his time as mayor, Davao experienced an economic boom and a significant decrease in crime. Mayor Duterte has been linked to extrajudicial killings of over 1,400 alleged criminals and street children by vigilante death squads. In the 2016 presidential election, Rodrigo Duterte won. His closest rival was Mar Rojas. At age 71, he was the oldest person ever elected to the presidency. As president, he established a war on drugs in which 5,000 drug personalities were killed. His presidency ended in June 2022. His daughter, Sara Duterte, is the current vice president of the Philippines. President Duterte oversaw the controversial burial of Ferdinand Marcos at the Libingan ng mga Bayani in 2016. Rodrigo Duterte was raised as a Catholic Christian but stopped going to Mass. He said, "If I listened to the 10 Commandments or to the priests, I would not be able to do anything as mayor." Rodrigo Duterte is an avid reader of the Robert Ludlum and Sidney Sheldon novels. He has his supporters and critics. His controversial war on drugs and crime has been noteworthy. Human rights issues and controversial comments have also been a concern. Rodrigo Duterte. Should we praise or condemn him? My own thoughts on Rodrigo Duterte tend to be rather grim. Bongbong Marcos. Bongbong Marcos is the 17th and current president of the Philippines. He was elected in 2022. Bongbong Marcos was born in 1957 in Santa Mesa, Manila. In 1970, he was sent to England to study at the Worth School. His father, Ferdinand Marcos, then dictator of the Philippines from 1965 to 1986, when Bongbong was ages 8 through 29. From 1986 to 1991, Bongbong and his family were in exile in Hawaii, USA, after his father was ousted from power by the EDSA Revolution. In 1991, Bongbong was elected to the House of Representatives. In 1998, he was elected governor of Ilocos Norte. In 2010, Bongbong was elected to the Philippine Senate. In the 2022 Philippine presidential election, Bongbong Marcos was the winner, with Leni Robredo finishing second. Bongbong exercises regularly and refrains from consuming sugar and soft drinks. Bongbong Marcos decided to run for president after watching the movie Ant-Man. He loves reading books and Formula One automobile racing. Despite his father's dubious record as president of the Philippines, we wish Bongbong well with the problems he is facing. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.